I was looking through videos and photos from my first ever track race I ran a couple of weeks ago and thought maybe I can find a cool running photo of myself, but instead I found this. And that's probably pretty representative of how this race went. But let's look through it, and hopefully all of us can learn something from the key mistakes I made during and leading into this race. So this race was the Tracksmith 5000 meter on Bislett in Oslo, Norway, and it was a really cool event that lets all runners on all different levels experience a track race. You just enter your goal time and get selected to a heat from that. My goal was to run under 16 minutes, and to be honest, warming up and getting ready for my start, I was pretty confident that this was going to be doable. You might find it strange that I, after running my whole life, never have done a track race. But I come from orienteering running and trail running and running in the forest, which in a way is nice because it allows me to run my fastest times ever on distances like the 5k, even if I was in better shape a couple of years ago. So I actually have never ran a 5k all out on a really fast road race or track. So my fastest ever 5k time before this race was 16:56, but that was from a pretty hilly road race. From the gun here, I just want to settle in a good position in lane 1, and I don't want to start too fast and save as much energy as possible. Another thing that was really cool with this event was that they used this wave light technology on the track as pacing help. So the red light that I'm running alongside here in the beginning is set on a pace that would give a time of 16:15, and I wanted to try to negative split this and make sure that I don't start out too fast, so I tried to stick to that light here and just stay as relaxed as I can. But I could already feel the first mistake I've done leading into this race. Oh, there's someone almost falls right in front of me, and that has to do with this mistake. And that is that I had no experience whatsoever on running in a big pack like this on a track. I hadn't really thought that this was something that I needed to train on, but it was quite stressful staying in lane 1 with people close to you and adapting to their stride. In retrospect, I think that I wasted a bit of energy from this, basically the stressfulness and this whole new concept of trying to stay on your position in a big pack. And I really tried to stick to lane 1, but maybe it would have been better to stay in lane 2. At least on this beginning part, to feel less boxed in and get more space to run my own stride. I clock in on this first kilometer at a time of 3:16, which was close to what I had planned to do, but in order to run a sub 16 minute 5k, I gotta average 1k splits of 3:12. So I really gotta speed up, but I still feel good, so I decided to try to turn up the pace gradually on this second kilometer. The second mistake that I did in this race or leading up to it was probably not having the optimal gear. As you maybe can hear, there is this rubbery sound every stride I make, and that's because it had rained pretty heavily before the race, leading the track to be wet. And the shoes I wore for this race was the Nike Alphafly 3, and I felt they didn't do a good job at gripping onto the track surface, so I almost felt like the foot was slipping a bit every time I pushed off the ground. Running with track spikes would have given me a better grip, but because of my inexperience of using spikes, it maybe wouldn't help me either way. But thinking of and testing out on relevant surfaces what's the optimal gear for you is an important thing to do leading into a race, and something I missed out on this one. I managed to increase the pace a bit and try to stay offensive going out in lane 2 here, and my hope is to move up in the field and fight for that sub 16. On the second kilometer I managed to increase the pace just a bit and do a kilometer split of 3:14. And up to this point I was feeling quite good, but starting this third kilometer I start to feel that a sub 16 will be hard. Just keeping this pace with still so long to go feels like a big challenge. and thinking of that I gotta increase the pace feels really hard. And my biggest mistake leading into this race is not training specific enough. I had quite many good workouts, but very few on completely flat surfaces, and none of them on a running track. And when coaching others and learning about training, I always think it comes back to how important it is to train specific towards your goals. You simply get good at what you train at. Your body is so good at adapting to the exact stimuli that you put onto it. And I think just a couple of track workouts would have made a difference for me, because it is a really specific monotonous load running on a track like this, not only on the physical side of things, but also when it comes to the mental aspect, because it's a real mental challenge pushing yourself lap after lap around a track. On the third kilometer I've had to slow down to a free 16-kilometer split again, and I'm really starting to feel it at this point. And realizing that my goal of a sub 16 seems impossible, a lot of negative thoughts starts entering my head. And what happened this next kilometer was probably my biggest mistake in this race, because I think I slowed down way more than I would have had to do. The mistake was that I simply was not mentally prepared to fight hard. Trying to get the best out of your body on any running distance will mean that you will be pushing yourself into a painful place. And I hadn't really prepared myself for this. I should have worked harder to get in a mindset where I know it will get really painful, but I'm ready to fight through that pain. The Swedish record holder of the 5000 meter, Andreas Almgren, said in an interview that you can believe that elite runners just have positive thoughts, but it's always 10 times during a race where you feel you just want to quit. So this is something that runners on all different levels need to face if you want to run fast. And I think this is so important to be prepared for and accept before you're going into a race like this, that it will be hard, you will have plenty of negative thoughts, but focus on doing your absolute best and fight through those hard moments. And this race was an important reminder for myself leading up into upcoming races to put a bigger emphasis on preparing myself mentally. On the fourth kilometer I slowed down to a free 21-kilometer split, and running a sub 16 is not in my reach at this point. And to be honest, I just want to be done and quit this race at this point. But I am at least happy with that I stayed in the race and decided to fight through this last kilometer, and hopefully still run my fastest ever 5k. Coming into the sprint finish, I tried to finish strong, but already here I remember thinking that I want to come back and do this better in the future. The good thing with experiences like this is that if you take it the right way, you can learn a lot from it and get motivated to improve. I finished in my fastest 5000 meter time yet of 16:26, and this race for sure motivates me to prepare better and run a sub 16 minute 5k in the future. If you want to see me running a 5k race that I'm way more satisfied with, you can click here.